We're just waiting for the grand entrance. We're waiting for music and maybe some pyro. While we wait for Michael, we'll also want to introduce new Wizards General Manager, Will Dawkins. Will comes to DC from OKC, where he spent the last 15 seasons holding a variety of positions within the organization. Will Dawkins. We would also like to recognize some men here in the front row. New Senior Vice President of Player Personnel, Travis Schlenk. Travis is highly regarded as a talent evaluator. Most recently, he was the President of Basketball Operations for the Atlanta Hawks. Travis has 25 years of experience. Prior to his time in Atlanta, Travis spent 13 seasons with the Golden State Warriors. Travis Schlenk. We'd also like to say hello to Wizards head coach 𝗦𝗢𝗖𝗜𝗓𝗪 Jr., who is entering his third season. Wes, good afternoon. And finally, new Senior Vice President of Monumental Basketball, John Thompson III. John spent the last 4 years as Monumental Basketball's Vice President of Player Development and Engagement. He has a vast array of basketball experience. Most notably, his last 13 years, he was a head coach at Georgetown University. John Thompson III. Well, Ted, I guess we'll start with you with a little questions, if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
If you could, just kind of tell us what Michael did, the fit that you had with him being now the president of Monumental Basketball.
I think I see Michael on his way right now, and let's bring everybody up before we officially kick this off. Obviously, it's a popular decision and group that we made. This is Michael. And Will. I was most attracted to how precise their coming to events and always being early to the events were. Obviously, I was very, very interested in a fresh start and moving forward and starting with a leader who then would be able to attract a great group of executives to help us to build a team that can legitimately, honestly, authentically say that it has upside, that it's competitive, that the fans fall in love with, and that we could have championship aspirations. We've done that with every other team that we have in our group of teams, from the Capitals to the Mystics to our esports endeavors. They've been best in class. They have great records. They have passionate fans, and I'll do everything to try and break that code and build championship contending organizations in the NBA. And Michael, I spent a lot of time with him, and we synced in our belief that you have to do all the little things right, you have to do all the big things right, and it's going to take time, and I've proven that I'd be patient, and I really believed in Michael's vision on how to build an organization that's really built to last. I think that's very, very important, that you can't have flash in the pan overnight success, that this will take a long time. And because of that, I wanted a next generation leadership team. I think that it's their time. This is a very, very young, aggressive, smart, new NBA-oriented kind of team. And it starts at the top, and Michael has my full support. He is president of Monumental Basketball. Monumental Basketball is a big organization. It's the Wizards, it's the Mystics, it's the Go-Go, it's the facility, it's our summer league, and he's off to a roaring start with the team that he has interviewed, hired pretty fast. I mean, it's amazing. Every day I'm getting a news release on here's our next executive that we've added to the group, and I'm thrilled with how quickly this is being developed.
Ted, thank you. Michael, welcome to DC.
Thanks.
What attracted you to this job?
As Ted said, we spent a tremendous amount of time together. I would say something north of 25 hours in person, Zoom, telephone. There's a lot of things that attracted me to the job. The first one was Ted, and I think that his vision for the organization, piggybacking what he said, particularly as it relates to the other organizations where he's shown that patience, his willingness to resource the team. I think the Wizards has, all of Monumental basketball has, but in particular the Wizards, has an extraordinarily bright future if it's appropriately managed. And I think that Ted is going to put together, Ted has put together the appropriate folks to get that job done. And so I learned over the course of the interview process that Ted is very, very serious about making this city proud with his basketball teams. It's something he's supremely passionate about, and so Ted was the thing that attracted me the most. Second to that, I think the market is starving for some basketball hope, and there's a lot of excitement in being part of a team that can deliver that hope. And I think that, I'll let Will speak for himself, but I think Will was very attracted to that as well. Travis, John. So we sort of want to be the catalysts for change here in the basketball community. I mean, I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge how excited I am to raise my kids in DC. That's it.
Unfortunately, I got to ask you one more question.
Chris,
Ted.
you're raising some kids in DC, right?
A few. Ted talked about kind of the acceleration of the hires that you've made already. You just hired a general manager in Will. Can you just describe what you saw in him to bring him to DC?
Sure. That'll take me a long time. I was with Will in Oklahoma City from 2010 to 2017, and there are a lot of impressive folks in Oklahoma City. Sam does an incredible job of hiring talent and character. Will sort of stood out to me as a combination of extraordinary talent, passion for the game, an intellectual curiosity, a work ethic. And I just thought that if there was ever a time in my future where I was lucky enough to be in a position to hire folks, Will would be one of the guys that I just want to work with him. I want to continue to learn from him. He's a pusher. I mean, it's just, he's a star. And to the extent that Ted has given us the resources and the freedom to go pursue stars, I really wanted Will.
Will, welcome to DC. We talked about your past relationship with Michael. You spent your entire career with OKC. What are your emotions today coming to a new city, a new town, new organization?
Well, first, thank you. Appreciate that welcome. There's been a lot of emotions over the last week, as you can imagine, when you're going through this, but the one that I continuously come back to is just excitement, really. Excitement and gratitude to be joining an organization like this, to be part of the Washington Wizards. It's a special franchise in a basketball city with loyal fans, and that's really, really exciting. So to have an opportunity to help Michael and lead the organization, it's really been humbling and truly inspiring. Like I'm ready to roll up the sleeves and get going. My wife and I just landed here last night, but we're ready to kind of attack it and learn the city. But I would say first and foremost, I want to thank Ted for giving Michael and I a chance to get into the fold and really give us an opportunity to build this thing the way that we think it should be built. He's been a visionary in a lot of other fields, and we look forward to listening to him and meeting and creating a vision for the next future for the Washington Wizards. So you asked about Mike, and Mike said some nice things about me, so I do need to go back on that, because we have known each other for a long time now, Mike. We've had some real tough conversations. We've had some strong situations in Oklahoma City we had to navigate. And each time you can go at them, we can go at each other, talk, but we're going to do what's the best for the team and what's best for the organization. And we'll do that here, and we walked out a connected bunch and a connected group every time. So I'm excited. I'm thankful that we're taking the next journey of our careers together, those next steps. I will say that people know Michael as the sharp, smart, very talented, process-driven, hardworking connector of people. That's all true, but the person he is, the friend he is, the father he is, that's what attracts me to coming to this job. And I don't take that for granted. I'll let him know that every single day. And I know this, I'm excited, and Trav, I'm sure you're excited too, to be on the other side again of those phone calls negotiating with him. So I'm happy to be on this side. But you mentioned Oklahoma City, so I do got to say something really quickly there. I arrived. It's a tremendous place, as Michael said. The city, the state, the people, Oklahoma is special and near to my heart. My wife is from there, my kids are born there, so they'll always have a special place for me. But I got to thank all the former coaches and staff and players that really helped develop me there, especially Sam Presti and Mr. Clay Bennett. They took a chance on a 21-year-old kid as an intern in Seattle and allowed me to grow up step by step. I walked in there. I definitely had ambition, but I was unaware of a lot. And they let me build it up brick by brick, and starting in the video room, driving guys around, washing clothes, to getting on the court, doing player development, sitting behind the bench, just learning. That's before I even got the scouting route, and worked my way up through there and leading some space in the front office and spent more time with Michael. So I've touched a lot, seen a lot, and all that stuff has really prepared me. So I wouldn't change it any other way. It's prepared me to be in this situation, to be in this seat next to him and try to lead the organization. So I owe a lot to Oklahoma City. Sam and I are bonded more so than just the NBA. We share a Emerson College bloodline, 𝗙𝗢𝗎𝗄s, and the great leader of Hank Smith that kind of made it all possible for all of us. So we'll forever have some stuff away from basketball. But this is a great day. I'm excited. It's all about my family. They showed me so much love and have been a village, everyone back in Springfield and South Carolina, Oklahoma. My wife specifically being here, supporting me. As Michael said, we're ecstatic to raise our 3 young kids in the DMV area. The opportunities that they have for growth, development, history, diversity, and just educationally, like, it's hard to match. And it might be a little overwhelming at first, but we'll be integrated, we'll be in the community, you'll see us there. So we're excited to get going, and a lot of emotions, but hopefully that's a long-winded way of saying I'm happy to be here.
We're happy to have you. Thank you, Michael, and welcome. Michael, I want to ask you, short-term, long-term goals. You're going to hear that a lot about what the expectations you have for this organization moving forward. What are they?
The eventual expectation is that we're going to build a generational contender. We're going to eventually have a team that is competing for championships. I can't promise when that'll be, but there's no excuse for the lone NBA team in Washington, D.C. not to be a perennial contender, or at least be pursuing championships. And so that's the goal. The goal is to pursue championships by any means necessary. It'll take time, and it's going to start. It's going to start on the ground floor. Not just players, not just coaches. It's everything. We're going to do everything a little bit better tomorrow than it's being done today, and that's the mantra we're going to take in every day. Eventually, we're going to hoist a trophy here in D.C. I can't promise you when.
Ted, from an ownership standpoint, how do you plan to support Michael's vision that he just said?
I've encouraged Michael and the group to take some time and assess what we have, get to know the organization, the players, the city, and then develop a plan. And we should work off of a strategic plan. Tell me the resources that are needed, and I'm committed to give them what they need to fill their vision and execute the way they want. And that's how we work with all of our organizations. It starts with a plan, and they just got here. So I don't have a plan to hit the go button on, but I'm expecting, and that was a big part of the interviewing process, how they work, how they see what's necessary for us to take these next steps to become a really, really great team. And, you know, I've said for a long, long time, we should be a destination. There's no reason that Washington, D.C. shouldn't be the greatest place. We have unbelievably passionate, knowledgeable fans. This is a fantastic city for families. This is a fantastic city for free agents. This is a place that we can develop young players, and we need to bring all of that together. And, you know, it'll all start with their assessment, and then they're coming to us with a well-thought-out plan. And, you know, I'm very willing and able. My whole partnership group wants nothing more than the Washington Wizards to be a team that is as great as the fan base. I mean, that's what we've said from day one. And, you know, I only want to look towards the future now. I mean, we have a big team, a new team of executives, and we've got to give them a little bit of time to, you know, figure out what's what right now. But with pro sports in the NBA, you can't have a bad day. I mean, the draft is coming up. Free agency is coming up. We have roster decisions to make. And so, you know, they have to be focused on the here and now while developing what is the game plan to get us on the right path. And they have to integrate. And what I'm really happy about is we have a really, really good organization. And now we've got people that are experienced from winning programs, programs that are looked at around the league as being exemplar for what they've done. You've heard about OKC, you've heard about what the Clippers have accomplished very, very quickly, and that's what we want to do here. We want to be a franchise and a team and an organization that people want to say, that is a really, really good place. That was great ownership. Those are great fans. But they have to work really, really hard out of the gate fast because we have big decisions to make very quickly. First one, most notably, being the draft.
Michael, we've talked about what you and Will can bring to the organization. I'm curious, what about what's in place right now? What intrigued you about what is here now that you can build upon?
There's a lot of talent on the team. There's a lot of talent in the front office. It just, I think right now what we have to study closely is how things fit together, how various different puzzle pieces fit, and what the roster ought to look like on a going forward basis. But there's a lot of good here, and I think that this isn't a situation where we're starting from zero. We're starting from something significantly north of zero because of the talent, because of the character, because of the folks in the organization, and then the other organizations. So we have a shared services model, which I think is going to help support everybody that we have in-house. But just generally speaking, I mean, there's talent and there's character organizationally, and it's incumbent upon us to identify how that talent fits together, which talent is carried forward talent, and how best to position the players, the coaches, the staff to succeed.
Before we open it up for Q&A from the media, I just want everyone to know that Ted, Michael, Will, also John, Wes, and Travis will be made available for one-on-ones afterwards. We'll open it up for Q&A now. If you could please state your name and your affiliation. You guys know the rules. I appreciate it. We will start with...
What are the rules?
The rules are, have at 'em.
Son of a gun.
We'll start with Ava.
Hi, everyone. Ava Wallace from the Washington Post. I've got a question for Ted first. I obviously know there's not a one-to-one comparison between Michael's role and Sashi Brown's role, and same with Will and Tommy, but you are existing within the same framework that was introduced 4 years ago. I wonder what those differences are, whether the size of the group or how kind of things are made up differently, or if there are any differences, it gives you confidence that that framework is going to produce a different result?
I think it's totally different. Monumental sports is totally different than it was 4 years ago. My goal hasn't changed. I'm trying to build the most valuable sports and entertainment company, all focused on one region on the planet. And, there's a lot of work being done on how can we as an organization be year-round programming. We just bought our network, as you know, and we spend a lot of time on all of the teams, but the business and the strategy in building Monumental Sports and Entertainment is what I'm focused on. And I have a standalone business, if you will, with the Capitals. There's a president, 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗧𝗏, there's a general manager, there's coaches. We just brought in a new coach and announced that last week. I didn't have that in basketball because it was shared service. And I really need a president who makes all of the decisions, who is in charge really of all of the people, all of the assets, and it's very clear there's no discussion on 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗧𝗏 runs the Caps and Michael is running all of our basketball operations, and that's a big difference for us. I need to be focused on what's next for Monumental, and the way big companies, and that's one thing I think that's been estimated. We're not a single team enterprise. We own our building. We own our network. We own multiple teams. There's only 3 or 4 organizations in all of sports that look like us, and so we need to have really, really dedicated professionals per organization. And he's really our first president to run all of the operation. And so it's been a big change. I've also said and continue to say, we can do whatever we want. We have the most revenues and the least amount of debt and the most growth of really any organization. And I think how quickly we were able to bring someone in from a big market. And that's another thing that I was looking for. We're a big market, and we want to be able to invest and build to make this the most valuable company in all of sports. And the Wizards in the NBA are incredibly strategic and important to that. And so this is the first time we've had somebody, Michael hasn't replaced Tommy, hasn't replaced Sashi. He's our first president of Monumental Basketball with all the responsibility for the shared services and all of the teams.
Chase Hughes with NBC and Monumental. A question for Michael and Will. What are your guiding principles for building an NBA roster? What are the winning traits you guys are going to be looking for?
I'll take that one. I think it's very important to get in a room and decide those together collaboratively. We've all come from different experiences, Travis, Michael, and myself. But for me, it's more about the person than it really is the player. You got to make sure you're bringing in the right people and they're about the right things. So whether that's a competitiveness, effort, willingness to be unselfish and those things, that's going to bring the type of players we want in, and then the basketball will dictate itself with coach and everything on that end. So there'll be characteristics that we'll look for on the court for sure, but it starts with the person. And that'll be the process and the vetting process. And we'll find out and create what a Wizard player it is, and we'll go after those type of players.
There's a couple of things. Wholeheartedly agree. Players will look different over the course of time. Staff will look different over the course of time. The thread that will bind everybody is they have to love what they do. They have to love to play basketball. They have to love to coach basketball. They have to love to be around basketball. If they love it, they're going to work at it, and there's just going to be an endless improvement until the day they retire from whatever profession they're in. And So every Wizard player, every Wizard coach, every Wizard staff member is going to absolutely love hoop and be a tireless worker.
Hall of Famer.
Good afternoon. David Aldridge with The Athletic. This is for Michael and for Will. You have two kind of future events on the NBA horizon that are going to have fundamental change, create fundamental change. One is the next TV deal. The other is the new CBA that's kicking in, which has very, very draconian penalties for teams above the tax line. How do you look at each of those as a potential area where this team can, I don't know if exploit's the right word, but use those two things to kind of accelerate a rebuild and to compete quickly in a landscape where you may not see that many super teams down the pike in the next few years?
David, hi. Frankly, I hadn't even thought about the CBA as being an opportunistic avenue for us to exploit anything. It's frankly a set of rules that apply to every team, and the sooner you understand what they mean, the sooner you can make decisions on how to navigate the rules. And so our team is already pretty hard at work, not pretty hard at work, very hard at work, understanding those rules, figuring out where around the league we can find those opportunities to add to the roster. And then the TV deal, again, that's quite frankly way above my pay grade. And so I don't have a lot of insight into that.
I do.
Ed might.
I was going to say, David, have you heard something I haven't about a new media deal? What how the league is set up and operates is important. Obviously, the NBA is a growth medium, if you will. But we're in DC. We own our media. We're streaming and we're on television live right now. We are AHL affiliate team. The 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗪𝗓 are in the finals, and we're able to put them on our network for our fans. The Washington Mystics are playing, and we're the only WNBA team that have all the games broadcast, and we have pre- and post-game shows. We're a kind of organization, and in terms of media, we'll continue to invest. And, there's been, will we ever go into the tax? I've answered this question many times. Yes, but we'd better have a really good team. We're not going into the tax to not be competitive. We'll go into the tax because we think we can win a championship. And I've told everybody that's good business. It's show business. It's not show. It's show business. And having a winning team and making those investments in the team we're willing and able and want to do. We just need it to be mindful and smart. But by owning our own network, and I'm chairman of the NBA Media Committee, I have a seat at the table, I know what's happening, there will be a lot of opportunity and resources for us to continue to invest. We just need to make the right investments, and that'll be an outgrowth of the plan that's presented.
Nice to meet you. Yes. Thanks to the city. I would say I'll talk more about the CBA. I think whenever it comes out, and we obviously were able to receive it, you spend time with it, you work with it, and the goal is to find the advantages in it. And the team that learns it and can find those advantages early on is the team that's going to find those benefits earlier. So we'll get in a room, we'll identify a plan, and make sure that we execute that plan thoroughly to the advantage of the Washington Wizards. So looking forward to getting here, getting settled, and then getting in the room and using that to our advantage. But again, it just sets the rules, and then we got to do our best to maneuver through them.
Go ahead, Josh.
Josh Robbins with The Athletic. This is for Michael and for Will. Can you describe the decision-making process and who within your front office is responsible for what decisions?
Sure. I think it's probably unorthodox insofar as Will and I are going to collaborate on every meaningful roster decision, every meaningful top-level executive decision, but there shouldn't be a mistake. Will is running basketball operations for the Wizards, and whatever that day-to-day management requires, whatever decisions that requires, those are Will's decisions to make. Corporate decisions, higher level player personnel decisions, I'm certainly going to be involved. There's going to be a team of us involved. Coach Thompson is involved, Travis is involved, Wes will be involved, Will, myself, others. But we're going to be, just as Will and I were in Oklahoma City together, a very collaborative group, and there's just not going to be, I'd like to say there will be none, but that's probably unlikely, but I would say close to zero siloed decision making.
No, for me, working with Michael, we have a good rapport and kind of know how to bounce things off each other. The thing that was exciting about taking the job was just the opportunity to spend time with the people, spend time with the staff, try to ladder up and do things. But it'll be a work in progress and learning like people's strengths, what we can't do, work together. But at the end of the day, it's got to be a collaborative approach. It's not going to be a one person making decision thing, and nor do I think it should be. So we have a lot of good people already here. I haven't been here for a while, but I've been able to talk to people on the phone, and we're a prepared group already handling and running into these situations. So I'm looking forward to learning from the group here, and it'll be a group decision on everything that we do. So I'm excited and ready to get going.
Josh, I want to just add one thing to that. I'll be first accountable. Whatever decisions are made, I'm first accountable.
So it's going to write about you, not me.
Every mistake is on me. Every success is yours.
Write that down.
Thank you.
Neil?
𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗟𝗢𝗪, Hoop District. First off, welcome to both you and your families to DC. You talked about getting to know Brad and Kyle and Kristaps before those decisions are made. I guess, have you guys started that, and just what's the urgency given the draft and free agency right around the corner?
Have certainly started those conversations. Yeah, they're principles of the team, and they carry a lot of water. So it's important for us to get to know those guys. Obviously, we've both had an opportunity to study them from afar. We've been studying the draft from afar, and so we're versed on them as players. We just don't know them as men yet. And so one of the things that's really important to the two of us is just get to know these guys and figure out where they want to see the team go and what they want from us, what type of support they need, how can they be their best. And to the extent that there's alignment on those things, we want to have opportunities to at least sit and chat about what the future of the club looks like. But as you said, the draft is approaching in, I don't know, feels like tomorrow, but it's thankfully not. We have a really good draft pick in this draft. We're excited to be picking where we're picking, and that is probably the first significant hurdle. We'll get through that, and then we'll have the free agency conversations as necessary. I don't really think there's much more to add for that.
Yeah, and for me, I think Michael hit it on the head, but you get to watch them from afar and they're really talented players, and that's exciting. I look forward to getting to know them as people. With Brad specifically, I've been around a lot of people who've been around him, and they speak so highly of him as a human and what he's been able to do in the community. Obviously, a relationship with Russell Westbrook, Coach Billy Donovan, Mark Daigneault, like they all had him at different phases, Scotty Brooks. So they've all speak really highly of him. I'm looking forward to getting to meet him. And then Kuz and KP specifically, their stories are just inspiring from afar. I remember going to Latvia and seeing him play when he was 15 years old, and to see where he's taken his career. So those guys have different stories and unique stories that make them a part of us, what makes this place special. So I'm looking forward to meeting them. Michael and I have great respect and relationships with their representation, so we'll be able to talk to everyone and the players and get going, but it hasn't started yet. My wife and I literally got here last night, so we'll keep you posted.
Michael, Rich Dubrow from Associated Press. Do you have the authority to embrace a total tear down if you choose that that's the most appropriate form? And do you expect that those three players will be with the team come training camp?
The answer to the first question is yes. Full authority to reset the team if that's what we decide we need to do. We just haven't sat down to figure that out yet. And so I truly don't know about the second question. Both Kyle and KP have the power of choice. And then I think it's the day before the draft, they have options that they have to exercise or not. So they have the power of choice. And so they can choose to be here or not. We'll have the appropriate conversations once we're permitted to have those conversations. But first things first, yes, we have the authority to do that if that's what we decide to do. And right now I sort of have to defer to those guys to see where their heads are. And I'm eager, as Will said, they have really tremendous agents who are extremely good at their job, very collaborative. And we're going to have conversations with those guys and figure out what the future looks like together.
Any other questions?
Good afternoon. 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗡 with Double Take Sports. Will, I wanted to ask you specifically, you talked about your climb through OKC and how that's prepared you for your current role. How do you think those skills will translate, and how specifically has it prepared you?
Yeah, great question. You really don't really know what you don't know until you get into it. And the structure in Oklahoma City is one where everyone has a voice, and everyone's opinion matters. And that's something that I want to make sure I bring here. But there's a standard to the level of work you do. So whether you are equipment, whether you're picking someone up, whether you're someone that's out scouting internationally, there's a way you go about it in professionalism. I've had my share of learnings and how to talk and deal with people, and that stuff really built me up. And through it all, I had people who were confident in me, showed me growth, and allowed me to continue to learn and grow. So ideally, when I walk into this spot, I know I have people here that have done the job and been around the job, and I can lean on them. I have a great support system and people that have come through Oklahoma City, and Rich Cho and Troy Weaver, Rob Hedigan, people that have done the job as well. Rely on them, lean on them, and try to figure out what makes me unique and how I can use the people around to just support everyone here. And that's the goal, to be an aligned, to be a connected, to be a professional front office that is supported and everyone has a voice.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. Welcome to DC. As we said before, all 6 men will be available for one-on-ones as we conclude today's press conference. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your summer. We'll see you in the fall of 2023-24 season. Thank you.
Thank you all.
A round of applause from the House as Chris Miller concludes the introductory press conference of the new future of Monumental basketball, including, of course, new team president that I love. When I tell you I love what Michael Winger said. We're also going to talk about Will Dawkins and, of course, Travis Schlenk as well. The new front office of Monumental basketball. Wes Hall here with Glenn Contor. Glenn, I just want your instant reaction to what you just heard from everybody that was asked a question.
I'm really impressed because I think, what we heard from Will and Mike is that they got to take a look at everything.
Yeah.
They're not going to jump in and all of a sudden make massive changes, because they really need to evaluate.
Right.
They like the talent that's here. That doesn't mean they're going to blow it up. It doesn't mean that they might not blow it up. But they got to really take a look. These two guys really have done a great job where they've come from in executing change.
Right.
So I think that's what's exciting to me. And also, they respect what's here.
Right.
And that's a big deal to me.
I think that's very important. Matter of fact, that might be the cornerstone of importance, because it's easy to come from the outside and say, all right, I want to create a clean slate. But Michael even said it when Chris asked the question. He said there are so many pieces here that you have to value what they are. It's about now finding the proper chemistry. As you see these three people, they're players of mine because everybody's on our team. But you're looking at over almost 66 years of combined NBA experience on the court. Most notably this one, Glenn. Michael Winger is 43 years old. Will Dawkins is 37 years old. The youth, you could feel the energy and the passion that they have for wanting to create a culture of winning here. Is that something that you saw as well?
Absolutely. I think it's, first of all, the youth is a big deal.
Yeah.
This is modern day young guys that have tremendous experience. And I mentioned that shot of vitamin B.
Yeah.
That shot of vitamin B is young vitamin B.
Yeah.
It's nouveau vitamin B. So to me, it's a good thing. And I look at these guys, Sam Presti, who Will Dawkins worked under, is very successful. Lawrence Frank, who Michael Winger worked under, very successful.
Some heavy names here.
Right, Travis, as well. I mean, here's a guy that, has been multiple organizations like Atlanta that have turned it around. The fact that they have executed strategically, learning from guys who have gotten it done,
yes,
to me is a big deal.
Here's the other thing, when you think about the OKC situation, most in particular for Will, building a culture there. Remember, that team moved from Seattle to OKC where there was no basketball culture.
Right.
They built that from the ground up, even had an NBA Finals appearance. We know about all the high-profile players that were actually on those teams. But the fact that he and Michael together have an understanding of how to take something from the quote-unquote nothing and build from the bottom up, this has to be something that Wizards fans can lean in and say, I like the pedigree of these guys. I like what they've done so far. Now let's see if they can combine here in D.C. and make it happen.
Let me tell you why as well. You're making a good point.
Please do.
Here's the bottom line to this. At OKC, they did a great job they weren't afraid to trade their best player, right, and take a chance on a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander,
who
turned
great
into
player.
a great player.
Yeah.
Plus the fact that they have done an amazing job with their draft picks.
Indeed.
The Clippers, they went out and got
you get Paul George, and you sign Kawhi Leonard, and you put them to their first final appearance, NBA
superstars,
the conference final, appearance ever.
Blend those two guys together with how they build teams. I think you got a winner here.
And let's add this part to it as well. Travis Schlenk. And people will say, all right, well, where's the player personnel kind of guy come into it? He has full authority about scouting not only the pro players, but the amateur as well. So that includes looking at guys that are going to be on the go-go roster, who will make their way up into the Wizards roster. We just came off a season where you had two young guys, whether it's Jordan Goodwin and Quentin Jackson, take advantage of the opportunity afforded them. When a guy like Travis comes into the fold, you'll see what he's been able to do. Matter of fact, most notably, look back at those Golden State Warriors years. He was the assistant GM for 5 years, director of player personnel from 2010 to 2012. If I'm not mistaken, there were some people on that roster by the name of Draymond Green, who were drafted organically. You might have heard of him. Steph Curry organically drafted, Klay Thompson organically drafted, and Klay and
Steph
Draymond,
Curry as well.
Right.
Organically drafted.
Organically drafted. But when you look at Klay and you look at Draymond, those weren't top 3 or 4 picks. These guys were down in that first round, 14, 15 picks. When you want a guy who's over scouting in your personnel, when he comes with a pedigree that Travis Schlenk comes from, you have to smile as a Wizards fan.
Yeah, no, I think what this is just, again, just a shot of nuance.
Yes.
It's really new ideas, new cultures,
yes,
new direction, and a new thought process in building the organization. Yeah. With those three guys, you really had that formula.
One of the things that I also appreciated hearing was about his rather candid response to the authority or freedom that he has been afforded. I mean, Michael Winger, in regards to the free agents that are on this team and the decisions that they have to make coming up soon. That's what I'm so appreciative about. And as a matter of fact, we're about to be joined here by Michael Winger here in a moment. Matter of fact, it's going to happen sooner than you realize. I'm excited about it. I want to go ahead and bring him in now. Whenever Michael's ready, we can go ahead and do this.
Him up.
We're going to hook him up. Come right on in.
There he is.
Come right on in. How you doing, Michael? Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
Wes Hall officially. Glenn Consor officially. Michael Winger, the president of basketball operations for Monumental Basketball. First and foremost, like Chris Miller did earlier before, we want to welcome you to D.C.
Thank you so much for having me.
I could see the passion in your eyes when it kind of it hit home there for a moment. You're like, wait a second, I get to raise my kids here. You have ties to this organization previously. We'll get to that in a moment. But I just want your instant reaction to the full emotions that you were feeling when you were officially announced as the president of basketball here.
Oh, it took every ounce of energy, every ounce of focus not to fall apart when I'm thinking about the group of folks I'm going to get to work with here. Ted, I spent so much time with Ted, and his passion for the team, his passion for the city just oozes out of him. And it's moving for a guy to have that much passion and say, here you go, man, like, I need you to do something with this. And it's overwhelming. And then I'm trying to fight the emotion, and then I look at my daughter and I think, okay, she's going to become an adult in D.C., and my other 3 boys are going to become adults in D.C., and I have a lot of friends from D.C. They're all just cultured, intelligent, humble, caring people, and I know that's what the city and the region sort of nurtures a kid to become, and I'm extremely blessed to be able to do that here.
I'm glad to have you.
Mike, what is your vision? I know it's an open-ended question, but there's always a timeline. I know that you still are in, as you had mentioned, the evaluation stage of all this. But what is your vision of this organization, and what is the time frame where you're going to be happy, hey, I'm glad I'm here at a year or two?
As it relates to the timeline, I think every day the folks that are here, myself included, you, Ted, every day there's going to be something that we do that makes the folks inside the walls proud, the fans watching proud. There's going to be something we do every single day that's going to make folks who are watching proud. It might be small, but over a period of time, and it probably will take years, but over a period of time, those moments of pride, those moments of improvement, those moments of just advance, they compound on each other, and they pick up momentum, and eventually you blink and we're a perennial playoff team. You blink again and we have multiple all-stars. You blink again and hopefully we're contending for championships. I just don't know how many blinks it's going to take.
Right, no, yeah, absolutely.
You know, it's something else interesting too, Michael. We hear the metaphor of cooking, right? You know, it's all about who buys the groceries and then who actually cooks the meal. But a meal is not properly done unless it's actually done in the proper order. So we know that you have free agents, you have the draft, you have guys who are already here, veterans on the staff. What are your cornerstone elements, cornerstone principles to be able to create this culture of winning that you're mentioning? And then more importantly, how do you sustain that?
I think that, great question. The folks that we bring in, they have to love basketball. If they love basketball, all the rest, it just falls into place. It comes easy. If you love something as much as we want our guys to love hoop, they're going to work at their game. They're going to work at the things they're not great at. They're going to work on the things that they are great at. The folks who aren't on the court, whether it's our strategy team, our player development team, our evaluators, they're just going to improve every single day at whatever it is they do. And eventually, again, like all of these skills, all of these talents, they're going to coalesce, and you're going to see a team that sort of reflects all of the inputs from all of the people. And the team will get better, the fans are going to find hope, the building will be more energetic. I think that's the plan. Yeah. And I know it's not terribly sexy, it's not something we've yet to put on a piece of paper, but I mean, as Ted said, he wanted something that he could demonstrate to the fans. Hey, look, we're in this for the right reasons, and we're in this to get better. However long it takes, and the rest is on Michael. Right. And okay, let's go.
Mike, you watch the NBA Finals. You watch Miami and Denver, where those teams have come from, and it seems like the buzzword is always culture. All the analysts, and I'm an analyst, we talk about team culture, and it seems like that is so important to start as a foundation. Has there been teams out there that you have watched? Now, you've done a great job executing with the Clippers, executing a strategy to turn a franchise around. But is there a role model franchise that you have looked at and said, wow, that's a pretty good role model?
Certainly. I mean, you said it, the two teams in the finals right now, everybody should look to for inspiration and to steal whatever they can from those organizations. Obviously, they're doing a lot right. And there are other organizations. I don't necessarily want to sort of put them on the screen quite yet for fear that they're going to be, they're going to shut off their phone lines. But I mean, it's really hard to turn your eyes away from the Miami Heat. It really is. I mean, they are a classy organization. They do things the right way, and year in and year out, they produce extremely competitive teams, and they do it the right way. They don't cheat the process. Yeah. Right. And so we'll continue to look to them, and of course Denver. I mean, their best players were drafted and developed by the organization, and I think that's a recipe for success.
I've got two quick questions for you. One about the WNBA, and we'll get to that one momentarily. But you have a pedigree of dealing with high-profile superstars within this league. When you know about certain markets that players are drawn to, from the outside looking in, now, of course, being Dave Wynn on the inside looking out, how do you make this market an attractive location for big-name free agents to want to come here?
I think the first thing you have to do is you have to show them that you care. And that's the little things. It's having the right infrastructure, whether that's the medical space, the evaluation space, the analytics, the strategy space, the family services space, the facility, whatever their experience is in DC, they remember that. They remember how you make them feel. And so the first thing we have to do is we have to make folks, particularly the stars, we have to make them feel welcome. We have to make them feel like we support them and that we're going to eliminate as many distractions as we can so that they can just focus on basketball, getting themselves better. If they're getting themselves better, chances are they're going to help their teammates get better. And so if we just clear the decks for them, let them focus on basketball, guys are going to want to play here.
Indeed.
Strike that. Basketball players are going to want to play
There
here.
you go, basketball players, because that transitioned over to this WNBA question. Obviously, you'll also have oversight over the Washington Mystics as well. What type of forethought have you given? Have you had the opportunity to really assess the direction that that franchise wants to go as well?
So a couple things. One, I have not had the good fortune of having much experience with the WNBA. Watching from afar, of course, it's very easy to be a fan. These ladies play so hard, clearly passionate about basketball. The Mystics, I mean, they're a pretty well-oiled machine. They do things at a very high level. They've had a lot of success. My biggest fear is getting in the way. And so I've spent some time with the staff over there, spent some time with a couple of the ladies, and I mean, they know what they're doing. And I'm there to support them. If they need something from me, boom, you're going to get it. But I can't imagine getting in the way over there and disrupting what is already a very successful organization.
Mike, you've had a bunch of mentors coming up, and I know Ron Shapiro, obviously, and you know, has anybody jumped out at you that you said, wow, I really got to, study this guy, study the success, study the steps, study the strategies of this person, and who's been the most impactful to you?
Sorry, you mean of the mentors I already have, or
Yes.
somebody who hasn't yet been a mentor to me?
Already have.
Oh, geez.
I know there's a lot.
There are a lot. So,
and I'm not going to let you leave out any either.
Okay, thanks. I mean, Ron is, Ron's the guy. Ron is he's a dad. He's a philanthropist. He's a mentor. He's all those things. He was here today, sitting front row to support me, which partly was why I got a little weepy. He absolutely cares about the human and every human he comes across, and he dives right into helping other people, and that helps people get better in whatever it is they're trying to do. He just sort of like stands there and says, hey, look, lean on me. You're not going to fall. And if I can be that for people, I want to be, whether it's people in the organization, fans, whoever it is. But yeah, I mean, he's the mentor of mentors.
I love your passion.
I do too,
I
Michael
love your
Winger.
and I love your passion for being here.
Yeah.
Not just from a basketball standpoint, but from your family.
No,
So
this
I
is
think
indeed
that's
a
so
great
important.
day.
Good man.
Thank you so much, Michael. We appreciate it. Look forward to
Thank
bothering
you.
you in practice a few times.
Of course, anytime.
Michael Winger, the new president of Monumental Basketball, here with us at District E for his introduction to you Wizards fans on the other side. The president, CEO, and founder of Monumental Sports, 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗢𝗪 is going to join us. So do not move a muscle. Good things in store for Wizards fans and more. Wizards fans, welcome back into District E, powered by Ticketmaster, following the introduction of the new direction of Monumental basketball that includes the president, Michael Winger, who just sat down with 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗧𝗏 and myself, Wes Hall. Of course, Travis Schlenk involved with that. He'd be the Wizards Senior VP of Player Personnel. And we also got to hear from Will Dawkins, the new general manager of your Washington Wizards, a combined 66 years of basketball experience, 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗧𝗏. Just asking you quickly, after sitting down and talking with Michael right there, what were your first impressions from what you heard from him?
Well, he's passionate.
Yeah.
And he's laser focused.
Yeah.
You know, you could just tell. And he wants to be here. You know, he wants this organization to be successful. And that, to me, is a big deal.
It is.
You know, for me, to have this kind of, you know, injection of excitement and change is critical for this organization, and I think they found the right guy.
Glenn, one of the things I think, you know, when we talk about change a lot, more oftentimes we spend a lot of time on the other side anticipating change or requiring change and saying we need to do X, Y, Z. And then, lo and behold, you get the day where you get what you've asked for. And today is that day where you see Michael Winger come in. He and Will have such a tremendous history together in OKC. We know what Michael's done with the big names that he had out in LA. One of the things that 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗧𝗏 said during the initial press conference was about being a major market and being competitive with those type of teams. So when you get a guy like Michael coming from the Clippers and knowing what he dealt with there, what type of confidence does it give you knowing that he's coming here and he's got to get on the other end of the phone with Kuz and KP and Brad?
Well, you know, I think not only do I agree with Ted, but I think we all agree that there is no reason should not be, you know, a major market, not only, you know, from a wins and losses standpoint, but also from a free agent standpoint.
Right.
You know, why wouldn't this market, why wouldn't you want to come to the DMV, just like what we heard him say?
Yeah.
You know, what we heard Mike say. Hey, I want to be here. I want to raise my family here. This should be a target for free agents. And
Indeed.
I think now what we're seeing, you know, with this new, you know, this new management team, I think, you know, we're in that right direction to making this, you know, a major place of destination for free agents.
Absolutely, and one of the things that I think is crucial to making this happen is the separation of powers, per se. When you have one person who's strictly player personnel, the other is general manager, and the other is president of basketball, it allows you to say we have multiple access points, multiple positions where we're able to pivot, we're able to engage players, whether it be veterans in the league, young players coming out of the draft, that when you're able to have these different conversations and say we are a collective Monumental basketball.
Yeah, I think that's good. I mean, these guys also have a history of working together.
Yeah.
You know, they know each other very well. Like us, yeah. You know, it's the same thing. I mean, you know, another buzzword that they all came up with in working with each other is collaboration. Collaboration between each other. I mean, they know, they all will all agree on points, on decisions. They got the draft coming up. June 29th is another important date, which is going to be, you know, the free agent market. What do you do with existing contracts? To me, look, the draft is a draft, but that is going to be an interesting huge date where these three guys are going to have to collaborate to figure out what direction to go to.
Well, I think one of the main components to that is the fact that we all know this is a superstar-driven league.
Right.
Like, you have to have these small, limited amount of players that are available. And when you got guys like KP and Kuz who were able to put up tremendous numbers, remember last season, it's like 60 days ago, but when even Porzingis was saying, this has been one of the best years of his career, one of the best experiences on and off the court.
Right.
You got the people that are in place to be able to embrace that and be able to say, hey, if you want to stay here, we'd love to have you. And I think that's something we could appreciate.
You know what was interesting to me during the press conference? You heard a lot of, well, are you going to blow it up? You know, they're probably getting asked that. Are you going to blow the whole
what are you
thing
going to
up?
do?
You know, Michael Winger came from an organization where he had Kawhi Leonard and he had Paul George that he went after. So he understands the value of, you know, building a team around stars.
Well, speaking about value and building a team around stars, why don't we welcome in the founder, president, and CEO of Monumental Sports, 𝗙𝗢𝗟𝗧𝗏. First of all, Ted, thank you so much for joining us. What are your first impressions post the introduction of Michael Winger as your new president of basketball?
Well, I've gotten to know all the new hires very well over the last 30 days, and I think they're as advertised. They're very thoughtful. They love the game. They've had success everywhere they've been. And what's impressed me most is that they're identifying for me that what we're missing most is an identity. That we can talk about what the Mystics are all about, what the Capitals are all about, but we really need to build that. And we need to be an organization, a team that you don't want to play against. We don't have that anymore. And so, I don't want to look in the rearview mirror. I just want to look going forward. And I told them, whatever you need to make this successful, we will give you. Just tell us in a mindful, thoughtful way, what do you need to get us to be a great team?
You and I have talked over the years, and it's been many years, about giving this organization what they need to be successful, which your willingness has been really unparalleled with that. Now that you got these guys in place, this is an opportunity to make this place, and you've always said this, a destination for free agents. And when you look at the three men that you hired, they've had experience executing strategies to turn programs around. How important was that for you?
Well, they've built through all of the tools. OKC is not a destination, and they've drafted unbelievably well. Great players. But it's not just they drafted them, they developed them. And we need that throughout our program, that we identify and draft, and then we develop them. And then they've been able to go out through their careers and, manage superstar players. LeBron in Cleveland, Harden, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant in Oklahoma City, Kawhi and Paul George. I mean, and it's not only that they've been able to deal with the players. I mean, this world is about super agents.
Yes.
The agents, Andy Miller is here today. The agent community is really thoughtful, mindful. They know what's going on, and we have to do a better job in connecting and dealing with the agents. And, when I said next generation management and leadership, I don't know where Will stands in the age group, but he's probably one of the younger GMs. And, it was Michael's time. When you asked around in the league who was best suited to be this new position of being president of all of basketball at Monumental, Michael's name came up so many times. He's an attorney. He's done every job. Ron Shapiro was here. He's been around Ron. And so, I feel good that the group that we've landed, that Michael has put together. Travis was Golden State. He not only was, at Atlanta, but he has Golden State pedigree around the draft. And we wanted to make that show of commitment organizationally, that we can build a really strong front office. And I think, people saw that's a lot of firepower that we added very quickly.
I know that you're strategic in your decision making. You always have been. The fact that these guys, what jumped out at me is how passionate. It seems like it's a buzzword. Passion and culture. Is that something that has impressed you with these three hires?
Yeah, I'm impressed that they love DC, and they all think that we have opportunity. They shared in my frustration that we can't build a great team, and they've done it elsewhere, and so they've kind of raised their hand to come together and say, we got this. Great building, great fans, great community, great schools, and you'll do what's necessary. Let us do it. And so I have a lot of faith, and it's no longer a person. This is a really gifted, talented, deep front office. We have that elsewhere, right? The Capitals have that continuity. Dick Patrick, is just a Hall of Fame leader, Mac, who's the GM, just brought in a new coach who's been in our system, who was interviewed by lots of other teams. He was like the hot guy and hot coach. So I think it's we have to build great organizations to build great teams.
Ted, one of the things that you mentioned earlier was about the future and creating the culture that is Wizards basketball, including the Mystics as well. But looking at the age of Michael and the age of Will, you're talking 43 and 37 respectively. What opportunities does that afford this entire organization to build and sustain this new version of monumental basketball moving forward?
Well, they know I'm patient and I am loyal, and I'll give them the resources. And I know it takes a long time to build something that ages well. And, as you look at the finals right now, Miami's group from coaches and GM and front office had been there a long, long time. In fact, they set the culture. They brought in players from other organizations, and all of a sudden, they're representative of the Miami
and
Heat
non-drafted
culture.
players.
Yeah.
You look at Denver.
Right.
How many times have people said, blow that team up? They're not going to get there. How much patience ownership has had with that team. And it's amazing that, the history that one player is making is beyond contemplation. I mean, the guy is Wilt Chamberlain. The guy is, unbelievable player.
He's iconic in his skill set.
Yeah, and so you have to be patient. You have to believe in your front office. You have to believe in your staff and your people, and you have to give them the time and the environment to keep trying, and the resources. And they were appreciative of that. That's why they came.
All right. Well, Ted, thank you so very much for taking the time to hang out with us and be patient with us here. And just, again, a wonderful day introducing the future of Monumental basketball. Right now, I want to go to Chris Miller, who's actually sitting by with Travis Schlenk, the new SVP of Player Personnel.
All right, thank you. Joining me now is the Senior Vice President of Player Personnel, Travis Schlenk, who has a great reputation of talent evaluation. Hence the reason why he probably doesn't really want to talk to me. He wants to be on the phone trying to get some things done, but we'll make this quick. What does this mean to you at this juncture of your career, coming here and pairing up with Monumental basketball?
Yeah, to be able to work with Michael, someone that I have a ton of respect for. We've known each other for a long time, and then to have Will to come in to be able to help him as he starts his first journey as a general manager, being able to support him and tell him some of the things that I've learned from the past 6 years in Atlanta. I think it's very exciting. I love the D.C. area. My father actually grew up down in Richmond, Virginia, so familiar with the area a little bit. Would go back and spend several weeks each summer with my grandparents, and they would bring us up here to all the museums and stuff. And actually, this past spring break, since I didn't have a job, I was able to go with my family on spring break, and we brought them up here. And I said, we're going to do something different. We're just not going to go sit on a beach. We brought them up here and, did all the sightseeing tour stuff. My daughter's had a great time. My 9-year-old probably doesn't want to see a museum for a while, but I think it's important, all the history and tradition here in this city, and I'm very excited about it.
Do you feel refreshed after kind of being away from it from a while? Like, how does your energy level get back up, ramped up to do the job?
Yeah, no, I told Michael he saved my marriage to get me out of the house because my wife was ready for me to get out.
During your time in Atlanta, all you have to do is just Google the roster, just to see what you put together in terms of young talent that are thriving. My question to you, though, about talent evaluation is it is not an exact science, but there is something in terms of what you built down there that looks successful. What is it?
Well, I think the important thing is, and this being around the team all the time, like these are people. Yeah. And anytime you have, whether you're working in an office or you're on a team, like the chemistry that you have as people is extremely important. And you heard Michael and Will both allude to that. Like the character of the people is unbelievably important. The old saying, if you have one bad apple, it can spoil the whole bunch. Right. And that's something I really put a lot of stock into. And then as far as the team building side of it all, the pieces have to fit together. I think a lot of times now you have this sense that we're just going to go get the best talent you can, and believe me, that can be successful, but it's not always true. The pieces have to fit together. Skill sets have to complement each other, and that's the part that we're not going to overlook, but I do think sometimes does get overlooked.
What do you think the best practices you have taken from your time in Atlanta and Golden State that do you think applies here in Washington?
Well, the good news there is I've made plenty of mistakes in my life, so I've had lots to learn from. But no, we were extremely successful in Golden State, and just like any great franchise, what makes you successful, the run the Spurs had was Tim Duncan. And in Golden State, the success that they've had is Steph Curry. And again, obviously great players, but it's the people they are. They set the tone for the whole organization. So that's really one of the main factors that we're going to be looking for as we look at our players.
Travis, welcome to town, and I've seen Travis 2 or 3 times so far, and every time I see him, he's got his head in the evaluation tablet and he's watching players. So this guy has been working as soon as he got home. Again, it saved his marriage getting back to work. Travis, pleasure to meet you and welcome to DC.
Thank you very much.
Guys, back to you.
Appreciate it, Chris. Thanks so much for that. Glenn, one of the things that, whether we heard Travis say it, and Ted alluded to Travis as well, the passion that each of these guys have, and more importantly, the expertise in each of their respective fields, has to give Wizards fans and all of us on the broadcasting side a lot of confidence coming into this season.
Well, I think all three have been strategic, and you heard from Travis saying, I made mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's how you learn. So I think what they're bringing is, really a multifaceted experience. OKC, Atlanta, Cleveland, Golden State, the Clippers. I mean, you add all those together, you got a winner.
And that's one of the things that Ted wanted to prioritize. When he first initially said they were opening the searches, we were going to look outside of the organization to people who have a pedigree of winning and the passion and the willpower to get it done. So things are looking really bright for you Wizards fans right now, just between you and I. But coming up, Glenn and I are going to hang out with you a little bit more. We're going to hear from head coach 𝗦𝗢𝗖𝗓𝗓 Jr. on the other side. Together, today in attendance here at the press conference, get his thoughts on the future of Monumental basketball and the impact that the impending free agency will have. Don't move. Welcome back, Wizards fans. The introductory press conference of the Wizards' new leadership. Just taking a look at some key dates on the calendar that you might want to circle, including some in this month. June 22nd, the 2023 NBA Draft. The Wizards have the 8th pick overall. You'll see at the end of the month the deadline for players and team option decisions, something we know is going to be a high priority for Michael and the rest of his front office. And, of course, the moratorium period. Summer League happening out in Las Vegas. Hope to be there. Then training camp opens in late September. But, Glenn, I want to ask you about this June 29th day. We know that there are two.
That's the doozy.
I was going to say. They usually say there's an elephant in the room. Well, one's a unicorn and the other one's a coos. But the confidence that I think that we've heard from this front office, whether it's through Michael, Travis, we heard from Will as well, these are high priorities for this team moving forward as of this moment right now.
Well, it is. And one thing that you heard Michael say is that, look, there's talent here.
Yeah.
So obviously, he's not shunning that. Oh, let's make change just to make change.
Yeah, no.
I don't think he's that type of guy. You got someone like Kuz who, look, they got to want to be here. And one thing that was emphasized by Michael was, they're sitting in the power seat.
Right.
Okay, so they got to want to be here. That's reality, and that's how it is. It's not just here; it's around the NBA as well. But the bottom line is, Brad's coming back.
Yep.
You got Kuz and Porzingis. Those guys have to make some decisions. So I think that's a really important date, but I also will tell you this. The draft date coming up.
Yes.
Okay? This organization needs to hit on that draft pick.
Yes.
All right? There's a lot of good players. I did an analysis with Chase Hughes, my guy. We were looking at this draft. It's very deep. You can hit on number 8.
Yes,
and
you can.
if they do, that's dramatically and can dramatically change this organization.
And that's what it's all about. We'll get into some of our draft commentary here in a moment. Right now, I want to go to Chris Miller, who's standing right outside with 𝗦𝗢𝗖𝗜𝗓𝗪 Jr., the head coach of your Washington Wizards.
𝗦𝗢𝗖𝗜𝗓𝗪 Jr. was forced to put a suit on because it's the summertime and he wants to either be in the gym or on the golf course and the beach. But today is a significant day to dress up. I just want to get your thoughts on the new group that is now Monumental Basketball.
It's a really exciting time. Having Will, Mike, their pedigree, not only as people, but the background, various experiences coming from winning franchises. So it's really exciting to kind of pull, from that experience and bring that here to Washington.
As you know, the basketball community is very small. Everybody knows everybody, or at least there's the Kevin Bacon rule of they know somebody that knew somebody that knew somebody. Do you have any connections with any of the new guys?
Well, it's funny. Mike worked for Danny Ferry in Cleveland, and we all know Danny's history here in Washington. Will was in OKC, worked with Rob Hennigan, with Sam Presti. I've known both those gentlemen for 20 plus years. So it is a very small circle, and you use that to do a little digging, background work, and everything that I've heard from both, extremely positive. Bright minds, innovative, forward-thinking, but diligent workers. And at their core, high character individuals. So I think it just fits, and there's that alignment you can tell just between the two of them. So I think that's going to bode well for us.
The thing that I have heard even before the press conference is they want to support you and what you and the staff need to be the best version of you and the staff. When you hear that, and it's one thing to talk about it, it's another thing to implement it, but to hear that they want to make it streamline it where you just coach the team and don't have to really deal with any of the other stuff, how does that make you feel?
There's a level of comfort in that. It's to have that support system, and that there's going to be clear standards, but there's an alignment. And there are going to be hiccups, there always are, but that we're going to vet through it collaboratively, and I think that's important. Know that you have that support system to get through those tough times. But I look forward to getting in the room and kind of diving into everything, roster, the staff makeup, and just kind of really getting their feel, and get their feedback.
You've noticed right away, being at the facility this week, that these guys are serious basketball minds, and they're not here just to be mediocre. They have organizations where they've been to where they've won at a high level. You came from an organization that's currently on the cusp of winning a championship. So when you can put all of that together, big picture, what does this look like to you, having this new assimilation of Monumental basketball?
Well, like I said before, it's extremely exciting, and I know it's going to take some time. I think a lot of times we forego a process, and it may not happen as soon as we'd like it to, but if we lay that foundation, set out the plan and the vision, now we have something that we just stick to. Get through those tough windows, and eventually you're going to get to the other side of it. I see how it mirrors what Denver's done. The biggest key is consistency. Takes a little bit of luck, obviously a little bit of health, but they were able to weather those storms and get through it, and now they are on the cusp of achieving that goal.
And you just go over to Serbia in the second round and just find a guy that's a two-time
if it
league
were only
MVP,
that easy.
right? It just looks easy, right? All right, let's talk about what you've been doing this summer. You've been in the lab with the young players, getting them developed. Just kind of bring us up to speed of what you've been up to since April the 9th.
Yeah, obviously the change happened shortly thereafter, so it's been quite busy. During that transition window of kind of diving into certain areas, getting into the draft, going through countless hours of college film and getting up to speed, but then also our young guys. Kudos to them, their commitment to come back, be in market. That began early May, so certainly a very positive sign that those guys are investing in themselves and know what's at stake coming into next fall.
And now we get ready for the draft, which will be here in a couple of weeks, and you guys have gone through that process of bringing players in so far. What do you need? What do you need right now in a young player at that position at 8? Now, obviously, you guys can move up, move back, whatever. But what does this player have to look like for you?
Honestly, you know, when you're drafting in that space, I think the most important thing is find the best player.
Okay.
And then you can kind of work backwards and figure out. And there are other avenues, free agency, that you can accumulate talent and worry about fit or need. You want to find the best possible player. And, you know, I think Will hit it right on the head. Obviously, the character. The competitive piece. There's some, you know, other intangibles that you look for, but, you know, in that area, you want to find the most talented player.
Final question: how excited are you to actually collaborate day to day with a young man like Will Dawkins that has paid his dues?
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of somebody I'm talking to right now, just paying your dues and getting this opportunity.
Yeah, you know, it's well deserved. You know, of course, you're excited for him and his family, and he's reaching probably a goal or a milestone in his career. But you know, he paid his dues. You know, he put in the time, put in the effort, logged all those miles, and you can't account enough for that. There's no way to skip those steps. You have to kind of go through it and earn it, and he has. So that commonality alone, on top of being a A+ human being, it's really exciting.
I'll let you go. I'll see you. We got workouts tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
I'll see him tomorrow. So that's the head coach of the Washington Wizards, 𝗦𝗢𝗖𝗓 Jr. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Chris. I appreciate
It's great to
that.
see him in a suit, isn't it?
Hey, I was going to say, like, this is that summertime. Chris is absolutely right. We're all normally in sweats, polos, and T-shirts. That's the outfit. But today, we put on our Sunday finest to have a great moment for Monumental basketball. And, Glenn, one of the things I want to ask you about, something that I'm thinking about a head coach who obviously has a lot of things happening, whether it's roster decisions and things. But how much confidence do you think that he's been given with that vitamin B boost that you just talked about, knowing that he's got a really strong support system above and around him?
Yeah, I think it really helps. I mean, I think, you know, Wes knows, you know, when you have new management, a new coach, new players come in, that change is good. So I think he's looking forward to this new change for him. Look, the bottom line is, you know, he needs players, you know, and it needs to be refined. So I think that gives him some confidence with the new support system that's going to be strategic and people that have done it before.
Indeed, and to put you on the spot, and I'll kind of follow you up on this, because
you always put me on the spot.
My job,
I'm
Glenn.
used to it. I'm used to it.
I'm the PG. Just knock it down. Just knock it down. I'm gonna get you to rock. Here it goes. We're talking to Wizards fans right now. If there's one way to surmise what we've heard today and give them confidence moving forward as we head into the draft and free agency, what would it be in your opinion?
I think success. I think, you know, these three guys have brought in success to this organization because that's been their experience. So this team is going to turn around.
Yeah.
And there's no timeline. There is none. They talked about that.
Right.
However, they have been successful. So what do the fans want?
To win.
I go out every day. People say, we want to win here. I think these three guys are going to bring that mission. And free agency.
Yeah.
You want free agents to come here, you're going to see that happen now.
Glenn Consor, a great breakdown, and you're absolutely right. That's what I hear whenever I'm out away from a camera. Someone is like, hey, man, I want to win. Why can't we do X, Y, Z?
And they're blaming it on him.
Yes, they usually
times,
are, which I actually appreciate.
Yes.
That means you really value me. Thank you. But more importantly, I get it. We get it. Ted gets it. This entire organization gets it. Winning is priority one. With this new leadership team that we've been shared and gifted to now, it's about putting together the pieces. It's time to do some evaluation. It's time to openly, candidly have the conversations that need to be had and move forward in confidence. And you got anything else before we say goodbye to the people?
I just think that, you know, put your seatbelts on.
Ooh, yeah.
Because I think there's going to be a lot of change in a positive way, and you're going to see a winning organization.
And you know what? And we want to see you enjoy that winning organization in Capital One Arena when the new season starts. It's going to be a new regime that has begun here for your Washington Wizards, Capital City Go-Go, and Washington Mystics. Well, on behalf of our great crew and staff here at NBC Sports Washington, for my friend, my partner who loves to allow me to get on his nerves, Glenn Consor, my name is 𝗦𝗢𝗖𝗓𝗢𝗢𝗎. We'll see you next time.
Josh Robbins with The Athletic. This is for Michael and for Will. Can you describe the decision-making process?
There shouldn't be a mistake. Will is running basketball operations for the Wizards. And whatever that day-to-day management requires, whatever decisions that requires, those are Will's decisions to make. Corporate decisions, higher level player personnel decisions, I'm certainly going to be involved. There's going to be a team of us involved. Coach Thompson is involved.